I don't like these new chairs, man. How are you supposed to flick your bean?
What's up, YouTube? It's Big Ryan, the fat guy. Week 7's in the books. We went 4-8-1. Our season record is 51, 47, and 8. Still good for 52%. Congratulations to the 5 contestants who went 10-2-1 in Week 7's Pick'em. I'm looking at you, Lightning Bolt Brady, Lukester07, Pinkra, Nuber 1000, and my personal favorite. Shout out to Frankie Muniz 69.
Looks like Malcolm wasn't in the middle. He was on top.
I actually prefer his later work inside Malcolm's middle. 10 for 12 is an amazing week. Good for you guys. 83% winning percentage. That is excellent. Hopefully you guys made some bets with those picks. Fat guy, week 7 was a square week. It's been a while since the public had a good day against the spread. What were your thoughts on week 7?
Every dog has its day. And for us, it's now been 2 weeks of dry friction.
Yeah, our first 2-week losing streak.
Ever. Well, not ever. Well, since we've been doing this. But not good, Big Rye. Not good. It was a square week for sure. We started the season out hot. But now we've sputtered out. Like when I was a teenager in the back of the Corolla. Whatever, $22 is $22.
Compete against us each week in our pick'em pool. Check out the link in the description box to make your picks for week 8. All right, fat guy, let's redeem ourselves. On to Thursday night, week 8, Thursday night football. Miami traveling to Houston to take on the Texans. Early money is on Miami, only 58% though. They're 7.5-point road underdogs. Fat guy, who you got?
I don't get why Houston is getting showered with these high numbers. Like, does the betting public like them? Is the book kind of like them?
I think it's because they've won 4 in a row.
Whatever. I'm just not that impressed with them. Yeah, they beat Jacksonville, played like shit again. I can't believe Jacksonville. I really have a hard-on for them, but they haven't been doing well. But we're talking about the Houston Texans, and they're at home to Miami. I'm going to take Miami in the points. 7.5 is big. Kind of like when Buffalo was plus 10 at Houston, and they almost won. So let's take Miami. Let's take the points. Let's get a bounce back from the Dolphins. I'm not sure who's going to be starting at quarterback. We'll have to see. Probably Osweiler. But oddly enough, I'm going to be betting on that large man-child.
Next up, we have an early start. Another London game. Philadelphia versus Jacksonville. Philadelphia's 3.5-point favorites. Jacksonville 3.5-point underdogs in London for their home game. Fat guy, who you got?
Are you sure it's in London? I wouldn't want to be wrong.
I've double-checked for the viewers, and it's in London.
All right, we're doing it for the viewers. Well, London's kind of a home game for the Jaguars. A lot of Jags fans, a lot of Jag rags out there. So I'm thinking this is a good spot to take the very much sputtering Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, who's going to start a quarterback? Are they going to go with the Cody Kessler experiment? That sure worked out in Cleveland. Why wouldn't it work in Jacksonville? Blake Bortles been a big letdown. Maybe he'll get some redemption. Maybe it'll be the Kessler show. I'm still going to go with the Jaguars against a difficult Philadelphia Eagles team, let's say. You're getting 3.5 points, and it feels like a home game to me personally. They know how to make the trip there. They destroyed Baltimore last year in London. Like I said, the game is in London. So I am going to take the Jacksonville Jaguars, and there's got to be some sort of turnaround. There's too much talent on this team.
Sunday's early games, Cleveland at Pittsburgh. 63% of people are on the Steelers, 7.5-point favorites. Fat guy, who you got?
It's a divisional game. 7.5 points crosses the threshold. Lose by a touchdown and you win. It's so weird when you say it, lose by a touchdown and you win. But I'm going to take the Cleveland Browns. I'm not as jazzed on this game. I could see the Steelers blowing them out, especially with that week off. But I will take the Cleveland Browns. I will take the points in a division rival matchup that ended in a tie, oddly enough, in week 1.
Denver at Kansas City. No percentages yet. Kansas City's 10-point favorites. Fat guy, who you got?
God, Kansas City just looks so good every time. And I keep going against them. And you guys are pointing it out, and rightfully so. I'm taking a bath betting against Kansas City. So is that going to stop me this time? Nope. You got to ghost ride the whip sometimes, Big Rye. And I'm going to take the Denver Broncos and the 10 points. They had a little bit of an extended layoff, I guess, with the Thursday night game. And what was a shellacking of the Arizona Cardinals. Much like the shellacking the Kansas City Chiefs gave the Cincinnati Bengals. So let's roll with the Broncos in a revenge game on the road. Jeez, is it a hard place to play in Kansas City. But I'm getting 10 points. I like 10 points. I don't really like the Broncos, but I'm going to take them.
New York Jets at Chicago. Right now 20% on the Jets, 80% on the Bears as 7-point favorites at home. Fat guy, who you got?
Oh, I'm going to be taking the Jets on the road. Looked like shit against Minnesota. They had some deep balls that could have gone their way. I'm kind of a fan of this Jets team in an odd way. I mean, they're not great or anything, but the Bears aren't that great either. I mean, I did like them last week, and I think they should have maybe even beat the New England Patriots. I mean, 14 points he gave up on special teams. I felt like they were in control of the game, and that kind of just turned the tide so badly against them. The Bears have a good pass rush. Khalil Mack, he's got a little hobble with an injury, I believe, an ankle injury. Just wasn't quite as productive in the last two games, starting with the game in Miami. I do think the Jets have a chance here. Not necessarily to win, but 7 points is a strong enough cushion to take them. Let's take the New York Jets on the road in Chicago.
Washington at the New York Giants. The Giants haven't played yet. There's no percentages yet, but early line has them at a pick'em. This game is even. Fat guy, who you got?
Well, things could change with injuries and such, with the Giants playing on Monday night and us recording this on the Sunday. But as it stands, I'm going to roll with, you guessed it, the team I seem to bet every week. The mediocrity team, the team I love. The Washington Redskins. They're not my favorite team, but I sure like betting on them, and they didn't let me down in a home win over division rival Dallas Cowboys. So I'm going to roll with the Redskins against an inept division rival in the New York Giants. I mean, I trusted the Giants to keep it close against division rival Philadelphia on Thursday Night Football just 2 weeks ago. I'm not going to trust them again. Let's go Skins. Let's go Alex Smith in what should be a predictable 3-point win.
Seattle at Detroit. Early bets are on the Lions as 3-point favorites at home. Fat guy, who you got?
I'm going to take the Seahawks. And I usually don't like taking the Seahawks on the road, but I'm thinking this is going to be a good one for them. Seahawks, fresh off a win, well, not quite as fresh, a victory of a dismantling of sorts over the Oakland Raiders in London. They did have the week off. I mean, that's going to help. How much it will, I'm not really sure. They do have to go on the road in Detroit. Will be a tough game. This is a tough game all the way around. Detroit, decent road win in Miami. Very decent. But I'm still going to go with the Seattle Seahawks, and I think Russell Wilson's going to have just enough secret sauce to top off them Lions.
Next up, Tampa Bay at Cincinnati. 54% on the Bucks, 46% on the Bengals as 6-point favorites at home. Fat guy, who you got?
I'm laying the points. I'm laying the points with the Bengals. Bengals looked absolutely terrible in prime time, as they seem to time and time again. But this game ain't on prime time, so I'm rolling with the Bengals. Bengals at home, lay the points against a very inept Tampa Bay Buccaneers team.
The last Sunday early game is the Baltimore Ravens traveling to Carolina to take on the Panthers. 35% on the Panthers, 65% on the Ravens. This game also is a pick'em. Fat guy, who do you like?
I'm going to squawk with the Ravens. Really unfortunate Tucker missing that point after, for the go-ahead, well, not the go-ahead, for the tying touchdown to send the game to overtime. Kind of hurt our cover there. That game wasn't as telling as you would have thought. That defense played pretty decent, to be perfectly honest. There you go. I threw in a perfectly honest for those who are expecting it. I'm going to take the Ravens because they're just, frankly, I think they're a better football team. I took the Panthers last week. Everyone seemed to be happy. Less salt in the air, that's for sure. They won on the road impressively against Philadelphia. But I'm going to go against them and take the Ravens. Let's ride with Edgar Allan Poe and the Ravens.
Next up, Sunday's midday games. The Indianapolis Colts travel to Oakland to take on the Raiders. 67% are on the Colts, only 33% on the Raiders as a pick'em. Fat guy, who you got?
I'm going to be taking the Oakland Raiders. The only time I want Colts is when I'm reading the magazine in the men's room. But yeah, the Raiders had some time off. I mean, these are two bad teams. Indianapolis managed to destroy Buffalo. I didn't like that game to begin with. It's just so difficult to predict. I mean, anything could have happened. 3 interceptions, I believe, from Derek Anderson. And Derek Anderson, what's he doing starting a game anyways? Oh, Buffalo is such a disaster. Hot and cold. But we're talking about the Indianapolis Colts and the Oakland Raiders. So now they're traveling on the road. I don't know if the Colts will figure it out. They've become more of a well-rounded team, it seems, with the Andrew Luck injury and adding more resources, let's say, to defense and offensive line. They're maybe not so bad in the coming future. That doesn't mean they're going to blow away the Raiders. I'm going to take the Raiders, who have lost Marshawn Lynch, and this should be a starting of sorts for Doug Martin. See if he can start the next chapter of his career, and maybe it'll be a win. I'm going to take the Raiders. I'm skeptical with this pick, but let's win, baby, win.
Next up, San Francisco travels to Arizona to take on the Cardinals. 65% on San Fran, only 35% on Arizona as a pick'em. Fat guy, who you got?
Oh, man. Does anyone have the same feeling I do about all these games? Like, it doesn't feel like there are very many good teams. There's the Rams, there's the Chiefs, and it feels like there's everybody else. And then you're unsure of teams like the New England Patriots and the Ravens, for instance, and maybe the Bengals you could throw in that category. Of course, the Saints being good as well. But I'm just rambling here over the two garbage teams that are in front of us right now. One has an excuse in losing their quarterback to an ACL tear. The other doesn't. I mean, I guess they have a new head coach in Steve Wilkos, or Wilkes, whatever. But Steve Wilkos should be telling Josh Rosen to get off his stage because he's just as bad. I'm going to go with the San Francisco 49ers because I think they're better coached. What an embarrassing display for two teams. I mean, one got wiped out on primetime against Denver, that being the Arizona Cardinals on Thursday Night Football. And San Francisco got wiped out against the Los Angeles Rams, who are as hot as they can get. I can understand getting smoked by the Los Angeles Rams. They are good. They are very good. So I am going to take the 49ers on the road in a revenge game. I hope they can fumble less. I don't know what is going on with that team. The Fumble-Rooski team, that's what they are. But let's take the 49ers on the road.
The final Sunday midday game, the Green Bay Packers travel to LA to take on those Rams. 76% of early bettors are on Green Bay. I'm sure that will change as we get closer to game time. Fat Guy, the line is 10. The Rams are 10-point favorites. Who you got?
Oh, jeez, this is so tough. I mean, they're like, everyone's yelling, why do you take the Rams? They're so good. It's a problem. They're so good. I used to have this rule where I wouldn't bet on the worst teams and I wouldn't bet on the best teams. And the Rams are one of the best teams. The reason I didn't like betting on the best teams is because they can choose how they win. They can choose how they win. They have complete control of the ball. But the Rams do like to step on throats. They can cover really any spread. So 10 doesn't seem outlandish against the Green Bay Packers team that looks really bad if Aaron Rodgers weren't the quarterback. I'm still going to take the Green Bay Packers. 10 points is a big number. I got Aaron Rodgers. Let's roll.
On to Sunday Night Football, where the New Orleans Saints travel to Minnesota to take on the Vikings. 43% on the Saints, 57% on the Vikings. This is a week of pick'ems. This is another pick'em, Fat Guy. Who you got?
As Prince once said, purple and gold. I like the Minnesota Vikings. I keep going against the Saints every week. It didn't really work out for me when taking the Ravens, but if you got a different line because the Saints kind of closed a little bit different, you might have been able to get a win if you got the Baltimore Ravens at plus 1.5 or more. I am still going to take the Minnesota Vikings. I know it's a revenge game from the playoffs last year, but purple and gold seems to work for me, so let's go Minnesota Vikes at home.
And Monday Night Football, the Patriots travel to Buffalo to take on the Bills. 76% on the Patriots as 14-point favorites on the road. Fat Guy, who you got?
Oh, man. Who I got? This is just a sore game for NFL fans, to be honest. Maybe Buffalo can make a game out of it. I mean, I doubt it. It's just shocking display of primetime games because this could be a real snoozer as well. But I'm going to take the Buffalo Bills because the point spread is plus 14 and it's at home. I don't even know who's going to be playing quarterback for the Bills. But I am going to take them. I'm going to take the 14 points. Hopefully the Patriots show a little bit of mercy and only beat them by 10, 12, or 13.
All right, lightning round. Thursday Night Football, Miami at Houston.
Miami Dolphins.
Philadelphia plays Jacksonville in London.
In London, Jacksonville Jaguars.
Cleveland at Pittsburgh.
Cleveland Browns.
Denver at Kansas City.
Denver Broncos.
New York Jets at Chicago.
New York Jets.
Washington at the New York Giants.
The Redskins.
Seattle at Detroit.
Seattle Seahawks.
Tampa Bay at Cincinnati.
Cincinnati Bengals.
The Baltimore Ravens at Carolina.
The Baltimore Ravens.
On to Sunday's midday games. Indianapolis at Oakland.
Oh, jeez. The Raiders.
San Francisco at Arizona.
Niner Nation.
Green Bay at the LA Rams.
Rodgers on his own.
New Orleans at Minnesota.
Nolans. No way. I'm taking the Vikings. Minnesota Vikings.
And Monday Night Football, the New England Patriots traveling to Buffalo to take on the Bills.
This is going to do. I guess the Bills.
Bronies, that's it for us. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and tell your friends about Big Ryan, the Fat Guy. Compete against us by clicking on the link in the description box. And good luck in Week 8. Hopefully we can have some more winners just like you guys did in Week 7.
We could compete at the Nathan's contest too.